Hey guys, it is Cam. Today is the 12th of August, and today I want to talk about voices and mannerisms because that's something that's been bothering me for a little while, and I kind of want to really get out there and get a handle on, and I think this is going to help. So, the voice that I'm speaking in right now, and I try to do when I do these videos, sometimes more successfully than others, is kind of like I'm not going to say this is like a feminine voice, but this is kind of like a gender neutral kind of voice that I'm really comfortable doing. It's not a voice that I automatically go to, but it's a voice I can do pretty easily. I can't yell in it really, but I can do speaking pretty easily, and it's pretty comfortable. You know, this is kind of a voice I can just do pretty much all the time. I can't yell really loud, but I can do pretty much everything in it, and it takes not a lot of effort to just keep it here. Just a little bit of concentration every so often. The only thing is that sometimes my voice drops at the end of a sentence and kind of goes back to my natural timbre. And the way I fight that is kind of by going up the end of sentences, and the problem is that that kind of has like a musical lilt to it that I'm not really happy about, but I'm trying to deal with. Um, And I think that, if nothing else, just the lilt that goes up at the end is kind of a feminine touch that kind of evokes femininity a little bit. You know, it's hard. It's really hard not to do a dip at the end, which kind of brings out a more masculine voice. So, and the way I kind of fight that, if I'm trying not to do the gravel, if I'm trying not to do a masculine voice, I'm trying not to do a lilt at the end, is I kind of just go a little bit gravelly. And that kind of like that gravelly fade isn't really high or low, but it is kind of telling a little bit. So I don't know. Um, and so like a larger part of this is like when I'm trying to be feminine or I'm thinking about femininity or I'm just in my feminine space, this is kind of the voice I use. It's kind of the voice I use now. And I'm trying to get used to using it. See, like right there, I didn't quite dip as much as at the end, but I dipped a little bit. So I kind of have to work on that, you know, because I think the deepness at the ending is kind of a little bit telling, and I want to work on that, and it's hard. But this is part of a larger thing of like I have two separate voices now, kind of like this voice, which is kind of my gender neutral voice, which is the closest thing to feminine I can do right now. But considering it's like something I put zero practice into and just kind of go to, it's not bad. You know, I'm not like crazy about it, but it's not the worst, and I've been told that it sounds higher pitched than it sounds in my head. I've been told that it sounds higher pitched than I think it does, so that's good. But connected to this is just mannerisms that also go with this. I find that when I'm using this voice, I tend to talk with my hands a little bit more. I tend to keep my shoulders in, my elbows in. I just kind of tend to gesticulate with my hands, but keep my shoulders and elbows in more. I tend to sit with my legs crossed more. I tend to, just do things that my mind goes to when I think of displays of femininity, I guess. And it's kind of a little bit unnerving because I don't want to sell it too much, you know? It's like one of the big weird things I feel about exploring femininity and trying to like act feminine is like I don't want to act like an 8-year-old girl. You know, I don't want to like sell it too hard. You know, I want to be an adult. And it's really hard because for me it's hard to be feminine without also kind of being younger. You know, if that makes any sense. Like I guess my brain kind of connects femininity and youth and masculinity and seniority, if that makes sense. I think that's kind of a thing. And I certainly don't mean any like disrespect when I say that. It just appears that that's kind of where my brain goes. It might also be because I also associate femininity with things like the color pink, with things like stockings, with things like skirts, with things like that. And um, it's kind of hard to not do those things, you know? And it feels weird, you know, because I don't want to do it bad, you know. I don't want to find a feminine voice that I can speak in, which is, again, this isn't really a feminine voice, it's kind of a gender neutral-ish voice. It's not even that gender neutral, it's just kind of a whatever kind of voice. So it's kind of difficult. But yeah, I tend to feel that I kind of, yeah, I keep my shoulders and elbows tucked. I kind of gesticulate with my hands more. I kind of lean more. I keep my legs crossed more. Um, I just kind of, I move my neck and head a little bit more. Basically, it's just mannerisms that are kind of the opposite of how I normally act, I guess. Um, and I worry that that's kind of telling and kind of overselling it, if that makes any sense. And then conversely, there's kind of like a masculine speaking voice that I kind of have, which is this, which is kind of like, it's not even that masculine. It's just kind of like my natural speaking voice. And it's like, it's kind of difficult because like, this is kind of like if I'm speaking off the cuff or I'm yelling or getting impassioned or like getting mad, this is kind of the timbre I go to, and it's much more of a, it's not even like a deep masculine voice, but it is kind of a masculine voice, you know? And so it's kind of difficult to be like, have this voice that I speak in, but also kind of have like a more neutral, gender neutral voice that I speak in sometimes. So it's like, this is kind of the voice I just speak in when I'm being neutral, and then like, there's just kind of a deeper voice that I use when I'm accessing like the bottom of my vocal cords, the bottom of my voice box, and it's a little bit easier to do. This one doesn't feel like I'm pinching. I kind of feel like when I speak, like when I'm speaking higher, I'm speaking like this, and I'm kind of like pinching the bottom. I'm kind of like pinching my diaphragm all the time when I speak like this, and it's a little bit of work. It feels like I'm a little bit out of breath when I do this. Like it feels like I have to pinch my throat a little bit. But when I speak in like that, just this, just like a deep voice, which is kind of a little bit more natural for me, it feels like I'm getting fuller breaths. It feels like I'm getting like, you know, whatever. And I'm also aware that like this is just because this is the voice I'm more used to speaking in, you know? So it's not, it's also a matter of practice, you know? If I practice speaking in my other voice, then I'll get better at it, you know? And I think the diaphragm thing is basically what will change more than anything. Because more than anything, that's the level of comfort is more than what I want to change anything else. Because I feel like my other voice is kind of gender neutral. It's not really, but it's definitely more gender neutral than this. And this isn't even like that deep of a voice, you know. It's just kind of like a masculine-ish voice, you know. It's not even that deep. It just has a more masculine timbre to it. And I think a lot of that is just where I put pauses and where I put punctuation and where I put you know, lilts and depressions, especially in sentences, is more masculine. So also I think like there's a difference in vocal fry, like because when I'm speaking more like this in like a gender neutral voice, the vocal fry is more like that when I'm stretching words out. Also, it happens a lot more when I try to laugh. It's just something that goes in there a little bit more when I'm speaking kind of a gender neutral tone. But it doesn't happen in quite the same way. Whereas when I'm speaking kind of like this kind of tone, which is kind of a little bit more natural, it's but not even that much more natural because I'm actually kind of forcing it a little bit right now just to differentiate them a little bit harder. But it's there's a little bit more vocal fry on like soft consonants and also at the end of sentences. I also drag S's into Z sounds more, I think, when I'm speaking like this. Um, and it's really hard because this is the voice that comes out when I'm not being feminine. It comes out when I'm arguing, it comes out when I'm just fighting, it comes out when I'm being really like, oh man, did you hear about like what's his face? Ben Shapiro challenged AOC to a debate for $10,000, and that's just like totally fucking insane and stuff like that. And it's just like that is just the voice that I go to. And it's just kind of difficult because like I don't want to have to speak in that voice when I'm passionate, when I'm angry, when I'm yelling. Like I really wish I could access this voice a lot more easily. And I think that connected to that is also like voice mannerisms and also again like I feel like a lot more constrained when I speak in this voice. Like I'm smaller, you know? Like I have to have smaller mannerisms. And so like it kind of pulls in my my body, it kind of pulls in my expression a little bit. Whereas when I'm like speaking kind of like a more natural, slightly deeper tone, it's like I feel like I'm able to just do whatever and not think about it. And it's just kind of what I go to. I'm just talking randomly and have off the cuff reactions, and it's just I'm aware that it's like a practice thing, but it's also just kind of really unnerving because it's like I kind of worry that like and again, this is slightly deeper than my natural speaking voice because I'm just kind of forcing it very slightly. Like it's not that much deeper, it's slightly deeper. And also I find that my voice is deeper, like when I'm speaking in like my gender neutral voice and I come off of doing it to back to my natural voice, it is a little bit deeper just because I've been controlling my voice and suddenly it's totally uncontrolled. So like this is actually a little bit deeper than I naturally speak, like with my regular masculine voice, but like anyways, it's really hard because I kind of slouch and get exuberant and make wild hand gestures and just do goofy things, and it's really hard to do those and maintain a gender neutral voice. And I wish I was better at it because like I do like this voice. It's not like again, it's not really feminine, but it's definitely like more gender neutral. It's more it fits, the name better. It fits Cam better. My other voice doesn't really fit it as much, and it's really hard because like this is just part of my general program of trying to see how much I can do before I commit to anything. I want to explore as much as I can in terms of like what I can do, what I can change without actually going on HRT or seeing a doctor or like anything like that or spending any money. Like just how much can I do just by altering my mannerisms and like learning to cut my hair differently and shave and like stuff like that. So like it's really important to me to like express myself normally and being able to off the cuff do this voice or even if I can get even higher pitched maybe, I don't know. But it's like it's really hard to be like to feel like my off the cuff voice is not this because I feel like in order to like convincingly pass or like actually be feminine, I have to be able to do a voice that's feminine but feel natural while I'm doing it and also not feel like because the other half of this is mannerisms because I feel when I'm not doing this voice I act like a guy when I'm not doing this voice. I kind of throw myself into chairs. I kind of walk around with my shoulders move more. I just kind of walk in a masculine rhythm more. I kind of just, act masculine more. And it's hard because it's like, I don't want to slip into that. I'm capable of talking in a gender neutral voice and walking with more of a hip sway as opposed to a shoulder sway and just being more feminine all the time. But it's hard because it's not my base inclination. And it's because as long as I'm thinking about it, or in a feminine headspace, or wearing feminine clothes, this is kind of what I go to. But if I'm not, I have a real hard time just not falling into what I'm used to. And it's part of the problem is that it feels like, well, if this is what my body just does naturally, what am I doing here? Like, am I never going to get past that? So it's just a little bit nerve-wracking and a little bit hard. The mannerisms thing is a big deal to me because it's like, you know, I don't want to be stuck in a position where I'm just throwing myself around all masculinely, but I also don't want to feel like I have to be constrained and more feminine all the time because that also would feel pretty unnatural. So it's really hard to be like trying to find that middle ground that isn't too masculine but isn't constrained feminine. I guess it's just feeling like I feel like I have stereotypical expression, which you could put down to like, okay, I have stereotypical feminine expression because I still have no idea what being feminine is, but I guess I just naturally have a much more stereotypical masculine expression, which is weird because I'm not a very masculine person when I'm a guy. I'm really thin, I'm bad at sports, I'm not that tall, like I'm over 6 feet, but I'm not really tall. I don't have like a strong jawline. I'm not like, I like not to be like politically mean, but I'm not a Republican, I guess. All those things that would just like lead you to be more masculine, I'm not. I guess I just have lanky, dumb guy body even then. I don't know. So yeah, I guess posture and just mannerisms is difficult, and it's challenging, and I know it's a practice thing, but it's still really nerve-wracking. So, like, thanks for listening, I guess. Bye.